All right, imagine this. It's the 18th century, a time when people still thought the world was flat and you could fall off the edge if you sailed too far. Now, out of nowhere, a man emerges. A man who doesn't just prove that lightning is electricity, but also invents glasses to help you see clear and completely revolutionizes the postal system. Oh, and did I mention he helped create an entire nation from scratch? Benjamin Franklin, the name might sound familiar, like some old dusty figure you read about in history class. But trust me, his story is far more electrifying than that famous image of him flying a kite in a thunderstorm. Let's take a step back and look at the man who was not just a founding father, but a polymath, a philosopher, a scientist, a diplomat, and so much more. Oh, did we mention that skeletons were found in his London basement in the late 1990s? Yeah, Franklin's life is a whirlwind of brilliance, and there's far more to it than you ever imagined. Stick around as we uncover 10 lesser-known facts about Benjamin Franklin that'll make you rethink everything you knew about this legendary figure. Get ready to say, wow, this guy was way ahead of his time. Alright, this one's gonna surprise you. Benjamin Franklin has often been called the first true American. You're thinking, wait, wasn't he born in Boston? Yep, he was, but Franklin was about as American as it gets. Why? Because he didn't just think in terms of colonies. He thought in terms of one united nation. He didn't care about whether you were from Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, or Virginia. Franklin saw himself as a man who represented the whole of America, even before it was officially a thing. His ability to transcend regional differences and unite people for the common good was something entirely new. He was an early example of what it meant to be truly American, before the term even had the same meaning it does today. Now, if you're thinking Franklin was just an innovator, we've got a lot of ground to cover. This guy was also a diplomat, and not just any diplomat. He was a master at it. Picture this. Franklin, the quirky old man with bifocals, walks into the opulent courts of France during the American Revolution and wins over the French elite, not with military might or strategy, but with charm. Franklin's ability to flatter, joke, and connect with the French nobility was legendary. He knew how to get the French on America's side, and it worked. Without the critical military and financial support from France, the American Revolution might have been a complete disaster. Franklin didn't just represent America, he became its ambassador of cool long before the word cool was even invented. Here's a big one. Franklin wasn't always anti-slavery. In fact, in his earlier life, he owned slaves. But what's really fascinating about Franklin is how his views on slavery evolved over time. In his later years, he became a passionate advocate for abolition, even becoming the president of the Pennsylvania Society for promoting the abolition of slavery. It's a powerful reminder that even someone as great as Franklin had room to grow and change. In the end, Franklin came to understand that slavery was not just morally wrong, it was fundamentally un-American, and for that he became one of the most outspoken voices for freedom in his later years. Now, we all know Franklin was a bit of an artist in his own right, but did you know his first big political cartoon, Join or Die, became a symbol of colonial unity? This was no random sketch. It was a strategic move to get the colonies to rally together against external threats. Franklin drew a snake cut into pieces, with each section labeled after a different colony. The message was simple. If we don't unite, we will fall apart, and guess what? It worked. This cartoon became one of the earliest and most powerful symbols of the colonial unity that would eventually give birth to the United States. Let's take a moment to talk about Franklin's most successful invention, Poor Richard's Almanac. Imagine being able to print a book filled with humorous sayings, life advice, and weather predictions, and have it become so popular that it was a must-have in every colonial home. That was Franklin's genius. He didn't just give people advice, he made them laugh while doing it. His famous lines, like "a penny saved is a penny earned," have endured for centuries. But here's the kicker. Poor Richard wasn't just Franklin's persona for fun. It was a clever way of spreading his ideas about morality and hard work. He wasn't just giving advice, he was shaping the culture of the new nation with humor and wit. Here's another goodie about Franklin. He helped create the U.S. postal system. Yup, before we had emails and texts, Franklin was getting letters from one side of the colonies to the other. As the first Postmaster General of the United States, Franklin organized the postal system, making communication between the colonies faster and more efficient. Think about it. If Franklin hadn't set up the infrastructure to connect all the colonies, the American Revolution might have been a very different kind of war. It was through the postal system that ideas of liberty, unity, and independence could travel quickly and rally the colonists. The Founding Fathers might have made history with their actions, but Franklin made sure the words traveled. Now, you've probably heard the story of Franklin flying a kite in a thunderstorm to prove that lightning is electricity. But let's get one thing straight. Franklin wasn't just trying to amuse himself with a bit of science theater. No, he was trying to prove something much bigger. You see, Franklin didn't just want to survive a lightning strike. He was obsessed with the idea of harnessing the natural forces of the world to benefit humanity. In fact, he saw electricity as a metaphor for enlightenment itself. How humans could harness the forces of nature to advance society. Imagine that. A guy hundreds of years ago thinking about electricity as a force that could bring progress. Now that's vision. The man wasn't just shocking people, he was sparking an idea that would light up the future. Now I know you think of Franklin and you think, oh, kite, bifocals, post office. But did you know this guy also invented the Franklin stove? That's right, the same guy who helped ignite the American Revolution. Also made sure you weren't freezing your tail off while you were reading his Poor Richard's Almanac. The Franklin stove was a massive improvement over the open fireplace, and it worked by drawing air in and circulating it around a metal box, making it far more efficient than traditional fireplaces. But get this, Franklin didn't even patent it. In his mind, inventions were meant to benefit everyone, not just the inventor. Talk about the opposite of today's world, where patents are worth millions. Franklin gave away his genius to keep people warm. Now that's the kind of guy he was. In 1998, a shocking discovery was made beneath Benjamin Franklin's former London home. More than 1,200 human bones buried in the basement. The remains dating back to Franklin's time sparked intrigue and mystery. However, historians believe Franklin wasn't involved in foul play. Instead, the bones were likely linked to his friend, William Hewson, an anatomist who ran an underground medical school. In the 18th century, dissecting cadavers was often illegal, leading medical students to acquire bodies secretly. While Franklin himself wasn't conducting dissections, his home may have served as a hidden hub for early medical research and anatomical studies. Finally, let's talk about Franklin's lasting legacy. In his 80s, when most people would be winding down, Franklin was still pushing forward. At the 1787 Constitutional Convention, he was the oldest delegate. But did he slow down? Nope. He was instrumental in shaping the U.S. Constitution, and in his final years, he was still calling for the abolition of slavery. This wasn't a man who was content to rest on his laurels. Franklin believed in constant reinvention. He was constantly evolving, learning, and adapting. And if that doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will. Benjamin Franklin's life was far from ordinary. It was extraordinary. From lightning experiments to political cartoons, from diplomatic victories to moral self-improvement, Franklin's legacy is a roadmap for anyone who wants to leave their mark on the world. So next time you see a lightning storm or think about a life lesson, remember Franklin was there long before any of us, shaping the future with his ideas, inventions, and of course, his legendary charm.